No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. I'm Sam here with Jeff, Al, and Erica. Today, we're looking back at some of the best moments on the show. Yes, we are. We love a good debate on DBL. And one topic that got us all talking was the idea of getting kicked off a plane for showing too much skin. Take a look. The question is this appropriate? And is it your right to wear whatever you want, or should too much skin get you booted? You're shaking your head.
Look, I'm all for wearing, and I do think women get body shamed, but if you're wearing a bikini or a ton of skin and you're next to me, we're touching. And as you said, we're kind of trapped in a tube here. That's a lot of sanitation, hygiene thing I don't like.
Honestly.
I got to be honest. So, and if you get to the bathroom, I'm looking at your, whoa, okay.
Right, I mean, we've been accused on this panel of being too liberal, and there are two people, and I'm like, do what you do, Sammy, do what you do. But when it starts to invade, when your skin starts to touch mine or my child, who I might be traveling with, male or female, cover up the skin. Like, no tank tops. I'm fine with that
Especially
rule.
during a pandemic.
Right? Yes, yeah.
Just make sure it's applied to both genders.
Absolutely.
Make sure, because I'm with you. I think you need to have discernment. Some women.
And mandals, too, because, I mean, they
What's
stink.
A mandal?
They stink.
What's a mandal?
No, you can smell
What's a
them.
mandal?
Now
You
you're
can
just
smell
going
them.
based on preference.
What's a mandal?
A man sandal.
Yes, I'm fine. I'll change the genders there. I'm fine with women wearing sandals. Men, they got just funk right from the bottom. And there's open holes for it to escape.
Okay, all right, enough. Jeff, we didn't get to hear from you. What is your, does anything bother you on a plane with people's attire?
Everything bothers me on a plane, but I'll just jump off with the mandal thing. You got to wear shoes at an airport. Come on. You got to wear shoes at an airport.
So what would you do if the person next to you or behind you had their sandal
What do you
toes?
think I would do?
Would you say something or just
That's
be
a good question.
angry
Would you
the
say
whole
something?
flight?
No, I would probably steam.
Yes, you would.
Yeah, I would probably, yeah. We got to move on. Another story that got us fired up. They know what gets me fired up. Parents who charge their kids rent. I'm all for making kids earn their keep once they're adults, but Al and I weren't buying it. Watch.
This is kind of loaded because we understand that there are people who are caregivers, and of course that's appreciated. And also, a lot of parents take pride in the idea that they can give their child a head start in a way that they may not have received. I think when you have a situation where it's like, you know what, I have this amount of student loan debt and I may have gotten a little over my head on credit cards, let me move home, pay this off, and then go about in the world. I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, hey, here's $100 for the cell phone bill, or here's whatever it is for whatever it is. So I'm kind of in between on this.
Well, I just, we all had that period in our 20s where some of us went out and got apartments and moved kind of away from home. We had friends that were like, I'm going to go back home and save money. And you're like, good for you.
Yeah.
And then you go back home to visit for Thanksgiving and they're buying drinks for everybody at the bar because they've been saving their money. But it really just kind of gets filtered back into the bar because you get comfortable. Somebody's folding your laundry. Somebody's making you breakfast. You kind of go back into 10th grade mode of whatever you are, unless you're a very driven person. I do get that we are in a period now where millennials and Gen Zers have an incredible amount of student loan debt, but it's very hard to focus. And I think unless it's a dire situation, I think you need to move out. And I think you might incentivize that by throwing throw some D's on it. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like make them pay something. It was a hip hop song like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know that song. Throw some D's on it.
There we go.
I
don't know about that.
Go ahead.
How did we get to rims?
I know. That's not what we're talking about at all.
Make them pay a little something if they're going to stay, and that will incentivize them to leave and get their own place. If you're staying somewhere for free, why would you leave?
How about you don't allow them to stay with you? I get it in a really difficult situation.
If Sophie wanted to stay, you would say no?
I would hope that I raised her in a way, again, I'm not talking about specific unique situations, but I would hope that I would raise her in a way where she wouldn't need to fall back on mom and dad, where she would pull herself up from the bootstraps and make things work, whether she had 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. We've all been there. We all hustled in college to pay the bills. I never asked my mom and dad to pay. I went out and got another job, and I feel strongly about that. I think you're enabling the kid.
When she looks at you with those eyes and says, I need a place to stay for 6 months, it's hard to say no.
In the Italian culture, you stay home till you're married.
Yeah.
No, that's how the women. But it's so funny how like people look at this. It's like, oh, what a loser! You live in your mom's basement. I had to go home and live in my parents' basement after I failed in Los Angeles. They helped me get back on my feet. So it's not always a bad thing. You're not always a loser. But if you're not doing anything, you're not folding your own laundry. you got to get out, or at least got to learn a lesson from it, you know?
Yeah. But it depends on how you're wired. If you're there to reset like you were and move out, that's one thing. But if you see somebody getting comfortable, they start getting their mail sent there, they start complaining, you're like, Mom, keep it down, I'm gaming. Like, then it's time to like put a rent on it so they get out.
Or throwing D's on it.
Yeah, throw some D's on it.
Okay. All right, so we're all in agreement, case-by-case basis. None of us want to enable.
I don't believe you turned Sophie away. I don't think you would. I don't think you could. She's going to look at you and be like, Mom, it's just 2 months.
No, I don't want to enable her, though, but I would hope that Sophie would only come to me in specific situations.
Yeah, I mean, the situation is it's not going great, and I need to stay here.
Not going great's a good lesson in life. That's how you learn.
Okay. We'll see.
Well, poor Sophie. Leave Sophie alone.
Seeing as how we met Sophie in the womb and she's now like 16, that's going to come sooner than later.
Oh, God.
Well, finally, nothing got this panel more divided than the great PB&J debate. Watch.
I would say I'm an 80-20 guy.
You like
peanut butter, 80% to 20% jelly. I just want a little bit of jelly.
So you just want the jelly to give a little moisture?
A little pop. Can I ask a question? Chunky or creamy?
Chunky.
Okay.
Wow, I don't know if a lot of
chunker.
people agree with you on that. See, first, I'm not the right one. I don't like jelly. I don't like food.
You don't like anything.
I don't like food that tastes like somebody else chewed it and then put it on my sandwich. I'm sorry. I don't like texture.
He doesn't like eggs or bananas?
But I'm just saying, step your peanut butter game. Peanut butter, if you want jelly, step your game up. Toast your bread. How about a little circle of honey?
Wait. Toast on a peanut butter and jelly?
Oh, Jeff, you toast it.
No.
I'm not eating sad.
The softness.
You can't have
The
it.
softness.
No, you have to toast it. I want a little crisp. You don't make it black, just crisp. A little circle of honey or butter to give your bread a little. Yes, to make your bread taste good. The bread is 1/3 of this.
It's the softness that's the comfort. You don't want to toast it out hard, crunchy.
No.
PB&J is the essence of comfort food. It's what your mom and dad gave you when you were crying, when someone pushed you down. You got back up with a PB&J. That's what it is.
You ate a lot of peanut butter and jelly.
But you can also step up and do better. Our parents said we want you to do better than we did, and I took that torch, and I replaced peanut butter with Nutella. All right, come with me. I'm doing a little Nutella and maybe even a little bit of Fluffernutter. You can get some marshmallow.
The sandwich.
No. I'm making it taste better. Yes, I care about my life.
A classic is a classic for a reason.
Yes, but we've improved on classics.
Can I tell you, like in my neighborhood, the Nutella was very popular because it's Italian.
Yes.
And the bread was like this big. So they'd come to school with like garbage bags, and their sandwiches would be like this Nutella sandwich.
That's my type of sandwich.
Can I come over after school?
That's
I want to
my
get over.
type of sandwich.
Coming up on DBL, Tom Bergeron gives us an update on his life post Dancing with the Stars. You have to hear about all the new shows he has in the works. But next, a woman finds incredible mental strength after dealing with 2 unimaginable tragedies.
The Inflation Reduction Act is the Democrats' latest bill to make big changes to economic, health, and climate policy. Many Republicans have criticized the bill, like this state representative who, in a popular tweet, said, quote, "The Inflation Reduction Act is a tax increase on the middle class." So let's verify. Does the Inflation Reduction Act raise taxes on the middle class? Our sources, the full text of the bill, the Tax Foundation, a bipartisan think tank, and Howard Gleckman, a senior fellow at the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center. The bill raises taxes on corporations in a couple big ways, but it does not raise taxes on individuals. Nowhere in the text does it mention income tax or any other kind of tax assessed on people, just companies. The Tax Foundation analyzed the proposal and found only 2 ways it could affect an individual's taxes. One is by actually offering some tax credits on stuff like health insurance and electric vehicles. The other is extending a Trump-era law that caps how much in losses certain business owners can write off on their taxes. That law was going to expire in 2027. This bill keeps it alive until 2029. And that's it. No other tax provisions affecting middle-class people or any other individuals. Now, critics of the bill say the larger corporate taxes could eventually be passed on to employees or shareholders who could be middle class in the form of lower wages and stock dividends. But tax expert Howard Gleckman says even if that happens, it's disingenuous to call it a tax hike, saying, quote, "If you're working for your company has to pay more in taxes. It doesn't mean that you're paying more taxes." So we can verify, no, the Inflation Reduction Act does not raise taxes on the middle class. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back to DBL. Losing the two most important people in your life 3 years apart to the day isn't something many of us have experienced. Amy Morin was a therapist turned author who never realized how much she'd need to build her own mental muscles until the death of her mother and husband. Here's a look back at her incredible story.
I'm Amy Morin, and I live on a sailboat in the Florida Keys. Life wasn't always this good. In fact, I had to overcome some pretty rough circumstances to get to where I am today. I started my career as a psychotherapist, thinking I was going to teach people what I'd learned in college about mental strength. I never really realized how much I was going to need mental muscles myself, but when I was 23, my mother passed away suddenly from a brain aneurysm. And in that moment, I decided I was going to figure out why some people came into my therapy office and they grew from tough times in their life, and why some people stayed stuck. Because it was like I had a revolving door of case studies all day long of people who were going through tough times, and some of them learned from their pain, and I wanted to know what separated them from other people that felt like they were reduced by their pain. One of the things I realized early on was that people who were able to thrive after going through tough times, it was often more about what they didn't do rather than what they did do. People who grew from their pain didn't have certain bad habits. So as I studied those people, I started making sure that I adopted those things in my life, that I didn't do the things that could drain me of mental strength. And I was glad that I did, because on the 3-year anniversary of the day that my mother passed away, my 26-year-old husband died of a heart attack. And it took a long time to heal my broken heart and figure out, how do I get through this? And a few years later, after a lot of hard work, I was fortunate to find love again. And I got remarried, got a new job, got a new house. Life was looking pretty good. But just then my father-in-law was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I just remember thinking, I can't go through this again. I've grieved for so long. I don't want to grieve any longer. So I sat down and I wrote myself a letter of what mentally strong people don't do. And it was all of those things that I learned in my therapy office. And I found that letter to be really helpful. So I thought, if it helps me, maybe it could help someone else. So I published it on the internet and expected a few people to read it. But 50 million people read that letter, including a literary agent who encouraged me to write a book. At first I hesitated because I don't usually share my own story. I'm a therapist. I listen to people's stories. I don't tell my own. But I decided to go ahead and share my story with the world, and my life has never been the same since.
Amy, thank you for sharing your story with us. We've got to know, what don't mentally strong people do?
Well, mental strength has to do with the way you think, feel, and behave. So as we build mental strength, we give up the thoughts that aren't helpful, the emotions that we sometimes stay stuck in, and the behaviors that hold us back in life. So if viewers want to know what's one quick thing they can do to become mentally stronger, maybe just name your feelings. Studies show that putting a label to your emotions, especially the uncomfortable ones, takes a lot of the sting out of it.
Your list was read by more than 50 million people, including a lit agent that offered you a book deal, of course. So what do you think made the list go viral?
I think one of the first articles that was really about what not to do. There are so many lists about what to do, but most of us have a long to-do list already. And the last thing we want to know is, what else do I need to be doing today? And it was also one of the first articles to talk about mental strength. And that's something people often confuse with mental health. We know you can go to the gym and you can build muscle, but we also know that just because you have big muscles, it doesn't guarantee you won't ever develop a physical health problem, like you still might get high cholesterol. Same can be said for mental strength and mental health, that building mental strength is the key to living your best life, But if you develop something like depression and anxiety, it's not necessarily a sign of weakness.
Everybody go get this book. Thank you so much for your openness, Amy.
Absolutely.
We love the story and the messages you're getting across to people to help them better themselves. So DBL Nation, like I said, you can get a copy of one of Amy's books wherever books are sold, and you can listen to her Very Well Mind podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, even if you're on a boat in the Florida Keys. Amy, it has been an honest pleasure, and I will read this book cover to cover. Thanks again.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Thanks for having me.
A warning for people who use tampons has gone viral.
Because one of the ingredients on the back of her container is titanium dioxide, which, if you don't know, causes cancer.
This TikTok video and several others on social media have claimed titanium dioxide, a whitening agent, is harmful for people who use tampons.
There's been an uproar lately about tampons.
Bobby Parrish, a social media influencer, said titanium dioxide is really bad for reproductive health and claims it can cause excessive bleeding. But there's no evidence that that's true. Using these sources, I'll explain what the titanium dioxide is used for in tampons and why health experts say it's not harmful to humans. Titanium dioxide is a white substance used to enhance the color and sheen of certain foods and everyday household products, including the thread attached to some brands of tampon, like Tampax. There are very few studies on the effects of titanium dioxide on humans. There are, however, several studies done on rats that showed prolonged exposure to titanium dioxide through inhalation caused some rats to develop cancerous tumors in their lungs. But gynecologist Jen Gunter says people who use tampons that contain titanium dioxide don't have anything to worry about. She says humans aren't exposed to the titanium dioxide in tampons the same way as the rats studied, adding that titanium dioxide doesn't dissolve in water, meaning that the nanoparticles aren't going to dissolve from the tampon string and then get absorbed by the body. While the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified titanium dioxide as possibly carcinogenic to humans, the American Chemistry Council says that determination was based on animal studies. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists told Verify there is no evidence that suggests that any tampons are safer than any other tampons, so we do not recommend any over the others. So we can verify, no, there's no evidence that titanium dioxide in tampons is harmful to humans. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
Tom Bergeron is best known for hosting Dancing with the Stars, but now he's back hosting some new shows. Here's a look back at our chat with him.
Tom, you are a hit on Twitter. I love following you on Twitter. Fans love it because you do give them some tea. Yeah, you do. You give spoilers. Sometimes you give your sarcasm. Any tea or spoilers you can share with us today?
Ooh.
Well, not real. I mean, I can't think of any spoilers because I'm not currently hosting anything.
Yeah,
I mean, I can give you spoilers about
hear stuff, Tom.
what we're doing Thanksgiving here at the house.
Give us a Thanksgiving spoiler.
Yeah, give us a Thanksgiving spoiler. Come on.
I'm hearing turkey.
Got it.
We're getting the tea. We're getting the
Yes.
tea. Let's stay on spoilers for a second.
yeah.
Dancing with the Stars finale is tonight. I'm just curious, Tom, have you been watching it all? Any bets on who's going to take home the trophy?
The mirror ball.
The mirror ball, yeah, that's it.
I haven't seen the show since when was the last time I was there? The end of 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Can you give us a spoiler from that season?
That's more like a retrospective spoiler, I guess. Huh?
Throwback spoiler.
Right.
Exactly.
I hear you,
right.
Tom. I'm picking up what you laying down. So you spilled that you'll be hosting the remake of Tic-Tac-Toe, the game show. So how's this one different than the other incarnations of the show?
Well, one would hope the graphics are a bit more modern. We shot the pilot for that in June. And one of my partners is Harry Friedman, who was the executive producer of both Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy for many years. So I regard him as sort of the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this particular genre. And we're hoping to be in production early in 2022. We're still awaiting that 100% green light from NBC. Some of the reporting got a little ahead of the curve, but it's looking good. And if they don't pick it up, I can always do it, like for birthday parties, we can bring a portable game to your house.
I love the way you think. And I mean, you are one of the most polished people on television. So like we always see you looking good. 100%. Tom, you know how you do. But you know this business. Things are crazy right before the camera turns on. So like, is there like a crazy moment that you can think of that happened right before the camera started rolling?
There was, first of all, I have to preface that by saying I love live television and I love the potential for live chaos. So there was one night years ago, it was a show day of Dancing with the Stars, which we shot at CBS Television City, and they had a power outage. And we only had minimal lighting available, and I was thrilled. I just thought, this is going to be fun to play with on live TV. And I think James Corden was doing the Late Late Show by flashlight, that kind of thing. And I was really disappointed when they got the power back up 100%, and we just did the show as normal. But the producer, executive producer at the time, Rob Wade, came up to me, and he could see how excited I was, and he went, "You love this." I can't say the word he used, but I said, "Yeah, I do."
Yep.
It's thrilling. There's something thrilling about it all.
Thank you so much, Tom.
When you look at that decline in price from $5.02 down to $3.99, so from the peak down to where it is now, over $1 per gallon in savings, again, our work isn't done.
White House economic advisors are cautiously optimistic about the steady decrease in prices at the pump. In a tweet last week, the White House saying, quote, "With over $1 drop in just 58 days, this is the fastest decline in gas prices in over a decade." So let's verify, is the drop in the national average gas price over the last 2.5 months the biggest in 10 years? Our sources, Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy and the U.S. Energy Information Administration, or the EIA. Data from the EIA and Gas Buddy shows gas prices have been falling for 9 straight weeks, really since the start of summer. DeHaan says it's important to look at how high prices were back then, $5 a gallon the week of June 11th.
Well, in terms of the rate of decline, I mean, obviously that's a feat that's a little bit easier to accomplish when prices had gone up so much, to now see the market unwinding some of those gains.
He says over the course of the summer, gas prices fell about 2 to 3 cents each day.
That sounds pretty mundane, but that's actually one of the more significant decreases that we've seen, because it's an average of 150,000 stations declining several cents a day. We usually don't see much upside beyond that.
The sharpest and most sustained decline in U.S. prices for gas was back in 2008.
Prices in midsummer 2008 were $4.10 a gallon. They ended the year under $2 a gallon. So really, nothing is going to compare really to the recession.
So we can verify, yes, the drop in the national average gas price over the last 2.5 months is the biggest in 10 years.
On August 8th, the FBI searched former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The Washington Post reported agents were searching for classified documents related to nuclear weapons, among other things. In response, Trump issued a now deleted statement that former President Barack Obama kept 33 million pages of documents, much of them classified. So let's verify. Did former President Barack Obama keep 33 million pages of his administration's records? Our sources are the National Archives and Records Administration and the Presidential Records Act. For nearly 2 centuries, presidential records were considered the president's private property. This changed in the wake of the Watergate scandal, and in 1978, the Presidential Records Act was passed, requiring presidents to turn over nearly all of their paper records to the National Archives when they leave office. In most cases, presidents will then work with the National Archives to display some of their records in a presidential library, but the records remain the property of the archives. The National Archives responded to Trump's claims about Obama, saying that they are in possession of all 30 million pages of records that Obama turned over. So, no, former President Barack Obama did not keep 33 million pages of his administration's records. The Obama Foundation is working to digitize items and make them available online, although the foundation says the process was delayed during the pandemic. With Your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. Let's dip into the DBL mailbag to see what our viewers want to know about us. Erica, you're in the hot seat. Are you ready, girl?
I'm ready.
Lisa's got a question for Erica. What's your best tip for throwing an epic party on a budget?
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay, there's two ways to go. Either if you're super familiar with the people, you do a progressive dinner, but it's all at your home. So one person brings the appetizer, someone brings the salad, whatever. So it's like a potluck, but you call it a progressive dinner because that sounds fancier.
Cute.
The other way is a barbecue. It can always be elevated. So I always go with something that's a little cheaper that you can always just make it a little bit more elegant in some way. So
Like
there's
a
a lot
kebab?
of ways. Like kebabs are great. Yeah.
That's
Tacos
Sam's
are also
idea
a
of
great
elegance.
A
Kebabs.
kebab is very inexpensive.
Yeah,
and
but they're
very
not
chic.
elegant. It's not chic.
You can make anything elegant. The elegance comes from the ambiance, not
Yeah.
necessarily the food. I mean, you go to places and overpay for things that are way cheaper if you got it at a stand.
She's right.
Good point.
She's right.
I didn't know about the kebabs.
This next question is for Al. Al, what comic would you love to meet, and what would you say to them?
I would probably say Eddie Murphy, just because, you know, I've met a lot of the comics that I idolized, but I wanted to meet the comic that influenced all of them. So it would be Eddie, because Eddie influenced the generation that was right in front of me.
What would you say to him?
I would probably ask him, are you going to come back to stand up full time? Because I don't know, but it has to eat at you. I think about it all the time. It's this weird job that only a few people have, and it's hard to walk away from it.
Okay, good one. Jeff, you ready? Here comes Jeff. Okay, Carlos wants to know your favorite thing to do with your kids. Oh, Carlos, that's a sweet question.
Carlos, why was I expecting the worst?
I want to know that. I want to know
Cutie
that.
Carlos is. Yeah. Anything that makes them smile. You know what I mean? Like when they get that shot of adrenaline, like, hey, you ready to go this? Like almost like a dog when they get all excited.
Yeah.
When they just like run around just super excited. Anything like that. I mean, any time with my kids is great. Though.
Such a good dad. Okay, this one is for me. Jana says, Sam, if you didn't choose TV, what career would you have chosen? Something with animals for sure. Maybe like running a farm. Al, stop it.
What?
I know your face. I know your face. What's wrong with running a farm, Al?
But there's a lot of stuff to do besides the animals. It's like they're on the side.
I would like the hay and stuff.
What about you would like the hay?
I would like to.
Well, you're on television. You can get hay if you need it.
Sounds like very lucrative.
Bye, guys.